There you go.
All right, can everybody online hear us, Kim? And it might just be you?
Everybody, Kim.
Everybody.
Okay, good. I want to call to order the Village of Marvin Parks, Recreations, and Greenway Board meeting here on June 1st at 9:04 a.m. I do determine that we do have a quorum with myself, Bob Nunnenkamp, and Christina Culp. We also have Kim, our council liaison, Kim Vandenberg, online virtually as well. Next item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Any other questions, additions, anything like that?
I wanted to add, well, I did want to add two things. Now it's only one, I guess. Okay. Actually, I'm going to add two. One, they're both about the park. So you want me to just put them under, I just want to update everybody about the park, and I have an issue about glitter in the park.
So, park update.
Park update, I like
Okay,
that.
so as part of the park update.
And
Okay.
Rohit wanted to add something too. You want to add something on Rove?
No, it's already on there.
What?
I anticipated it, so.
Oh, then I don't have
He's
to.
smarter than me.
He's
Yeah.
smarter than me.
Wow. Okay, Rohit, you're batting 1,000
Okay,
this morning.
so that'll be under the public facilities
Not
managers.
this morning, last week.
Okay, that's under the public facility
I know what you
managers
mean.
update.
Wait, what's under the public facility manager update?
Her items, where would they fall?
Are you trying to get Derek to give you an update, or you just want to talk about something at the park?
Derek's not going to be here, so
Yeah, Derek's not going to be.
So it's
So-
just two things about the park.
So then, yeah, it's fine. Just put it under. It can just be under new business. Make it new business item 5.
Okay.
Okay, so do I hear a motion on the table to adopt the agenda amended to include the 2 park updates under new business item number 5?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. The adoption of the minutes from May 25th, 21. This was our work session for Marvin Community Day. So this was in the agenda packet that was sent out to us previously. Any changes, omissions, edits that anyone has requested? All right, do I hear a motion on the table to adopt the May 25th, 21 minutes as they are written?
So moved. Gotcha.
Second.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. All right, moving on to the public comment period, and there's no public online, and I didn't see anything on the public comment list. So, no public, no comment. Public facility managers update. Derek is not going to be with us today. I do have a couple of items that I did discuss with him, but they're part of the items below. So,
Okay, so no public facility manager
we'll
update.
move on from that.
No manager, no update.
Unfinished business items. Item number 1 is discussion and recommendation of sketch plan of the estates at Marvin Branch subdivision, and that's Rohit.
Yes, thanks. So in your packet, I put the whole analysis of the subdivision. At this point, we've had the public involvement meeting. You guys have seen it before. And they have what would be their final to be recommended sketch plan.
Rohit,
Yes.
I cannot hear you at all.
All right.
I don't know if there's like a connection, but you guys, I hear like every like 5th to 10th word.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we put that closer to him?
Well, this microphone was good last week, so
No,
we're.
it's. Let me just.
Oh, it's the connection at the computer.
It's coming through the
Your-
laptop audio speaker, so or microphone. So give it a second.
It's on.
Thanks, Kim. Sorry about that. Yes. Since I'm bad working, let me just get extension cord.
Technical difficulties.
It wouldn't be a meeting without them, right? I mean, Bob, have a look at this and see if you would want one of those if it were specific to Union County. Or at least the area.
Oh, I just have this out.
And assume that you're less knowledgeable than you are. Isn't that awesome? I thought they did a great job.
All right, how's that?
That is much better. Thank you.
Very good.
I tell you what, that's it.
Isn't it?
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna share the screen here too. All right, so this is the subdivision on Joe Carr Road, just east of Marvin Road, up against Marvin Creek, across from Helena Court, Elysian Fields. The proposal is for 16 houses, and since it's a major subdivision, it also requires, to go through the Parks and Rec and Greenway Board for your recommendations. So since the last time you saw it, they've proposed to give these easements for trails that would go along the outside of the subdivision, connect in the back. They'd have a sidewalk too. And what they didn't show in this plan is they also plan to have a sidewalk. They were going to build it, so they didn't give an easement for it. But I said you have to show that on the construction plan then.
So they've got a loop basically.
Yeah, they've
They're
got a
little
loop going.
Cool.
And this is the Marvin branch down here. This north is facing left, so when I say down here, it's actually west of the property. Marvin branch and 6 Mile Creek have this 200-foot this buffer that the DEQ put on them. So that's why the neighborhood has to be shaped like this.
Is that because of the muscle?
Yeah, the hill
Okay.
splitter.
Really?
Yeah.
Awesome. Sorry. I may be
Yeah.
the only one that cares, but cool.
Well, no, I mean, yeah, so the floodplain is only up to here, but the buffer goes all the way up to here, and that's why Elysian Fields has all the houses on one side, and that's pretty
Yeah.
much why this neighborhood also has all the houses on one side.
It's a lot
They could have fit probably
Yeah.
20-something houses, honestly, but
at
if
least.
it wasn't for the buffer. So anyway, they've asked for a reduction of the view shed buffer here, which is allowed in our ordinance to ask for. I don't think that this board actually needs to recommend it. Only really the council needs to recommend it, but I mean the planning board. So we won't go into that. Basically, the trail and open space concept, with the idea that if they had a sidewalk here, they'd cross the road, or we would, or however this happens, that the alignment would cross the road at this four-way intersection.
Is that Elysian Fields?
Yes,
On the
it
other
is.
side of it, entrance?
It is.
Okay.
And so as you know, there's already a Greenway easement along
Yeah.
the Marvin branch going this way, and then it would tie in let's see. It would tie into Marvin Creek's sidewalk, Saddle Avenue.
Do you mind showing me where it is on there? 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm still, I mean, I know pretty much where you're talking
Sure,
about.
sure. So I'll show this to you too, Kim. But the subdivision is here,
Okay.
Yeah.
and so the main segment that is in fact on our master plan is this segment right here.
Yeah.
It goes all the way to the edge of the property because the 6 Mile Creek Greenway in Mecklenburg is planned to cross Marvin Road and then go all the way up to Ray Road and further. So
Awesome.
to just kind of anticipate a connection for that, they've stubbed out an easement all the way to the
Nice.
edge of the property, which they probably won't build that stub, nor would we, depending on who's going to build that trail network. But that's also what our Greenway master plan
Yeah.
shows here. That eventual this kind of line from the preserve, Marvin Creek, Elysian Fields, crossing at the intersection at Helena and Joe Carr Road, and then going up the back of this neighborhood would eventually connect to 6 Mile Creek Greenway, like a 10-year vision maybe.
Yeah.
But that's the plan. They're holding their part of it, and they're also proposing connections to Marvin Creek's sidewalk up here. Of course, that would happen with the permission of Marvin Creek HOA. But you all are, I guess I can show you on the map, but there's a sidewalk that
Yeah.
comes out of the street here and then turns around and goes back that way. So this connection could be made. And then Marvin Creek residents and the neighborhood, this neighborhood's residents alike could enjoy each other's pedestrian amenities.
And architecture.
The houses would be pretty similar. I don't really have to go into that, I don't think, much in this board, but they do follow our conservation subdivision style of housing, where they can have 25 to 30,000 plus square foot lots, and then conserve 15 to 30 or more percent of the property. So it's not less than 1 acre so that they can get more density, just they squeeze these houses and then conserve a lot of space. So that's the kind of subdivision that they're doing.
Yeah.
Pretty similar in character to Marvin Creek. They're also having similar houses.
Is it the same builder?
Marvin Creek, no, it's Jones Homes.
I don't know why I asked. I think I would
And
know.
what's the,
Oh, yeah.
what's the square footage on this? I was just out of curiosity.
They're looking at 4,000 to 6,000 square foot on the home.
Okay.
If you want a small house in Marvin, you have to move.
Marvin Gardens might have some 2,000-ish square foot homes.
Yeah,
There's,
I was gonna
Yeah.
say something.
Yeah.
55.
You have to be
Yeah.
old.
55 or demolish half your house.
Those are 55 plus.
yeah.
Wow.
So when it comes really to some of the discussions that we had at our previous meeting, they pretty much, taken a look at all of them and really worked them in, I think, because I think primarily he was talking about going down that edge all the way to the end, creating that little stub, that might have the potential. And then, I think we had discussed whether or not, Marvin Creek connection might make sense to them, and they seem to be approaching that separately on their own,
Yeah.
developer to developer or developer to HOA,
Right.
as far as that's concerned.
Yeah. And if you look through the meeting minutes for the public involvement meeting, you also will probably see that they addressed pretty much all of the concerns, if not all of them, from the public. They increased the rear buffer from 40 to 75 here. They promised to preserve, certain elements in the viewshed buffer and the tree buffer. Well, they have to do that anyway, but they recognize it and they won't even.
Yeah, because the
accidentally-
200-foot one for the heel splitter, that's undisturbed, like they
Right.
can't even, yeah.
Right, they can't build anything, well, there are limited, let's say there are limited things that they could build in there,
Correct.
but not homes, right? They
Yeah.
could build a passive park,
Yeah.
like a playground kind of area for their neighborhood. But they couldn't build any buildings.
Yeah, and I think, if I remember correctly, even like a path that can be done might have to be natural. Is
Mhm.
that the case?
I
It can't
think
be a
so
paved
too. I
path?
think so too.
Because
But
when
this-
it's in that buffer zone, I think.
Right, but
Yeah.
this neighborhood scale calls for a natural trail anyway in our
Correct.
master plan.
Okay,
So that's 200 feet off of the creek, right? Is that what you're saying?
yeah.
Yeah.
And so, but that's not that long. Yeah, where's 200 feet, give or take, off
This
of it?
That road.
this right
Oh.
here is the drawn edge of the buffer.
So, oh, wow, so that house, they have to cut the corner off of that house?
Yeah, they did. So I mean,
I
what
mean,
they,
seriously, they did?
well, what they've done here is they've shown the biggest
That house is
footprint
weird.
that they
Yeah.
have
Oh, for the
And then I can-
houses.
for the house.
Right, so, yeah, I got
So
it.
all it means to say is that this house number one won't be allowed to have the biggest footprint
Yeah,
Got it.
that they
Or,
offer.
or it has an odd shape, okay.
Yeah.
So that dotted weird line is the 200, and so they can't, the builder, developer, whatever, can't do much with that property there? Is that what you're all saying? Because of,
Yeah.
Yeah, they wouldn't have been allowed to build here anyhow, so somehow they found it that, building 16 homes on 28 acres is still gonna be,
feasible,
feasible
financially
for them,
feasible for
yeah.
them. So, okay, so that first house that they're cutting the corner off of, what, they get a yard or not?
they get the yard, they just can't build a pool or a deck or
Ooh,
anything.
okay.
And
Well,
like,
I hope they're nature lovers, okay.
right, and I mean, people just have to know that. I unfortunately get calls from people that are surprised that their survey says
Of course.
something is unbuildable in the property that they own.
yeah.
Right.
And it's just, it's buyers beware, honestly. You just have to pay attention to your survey, and that's going to be the case with these houses 1, 2, and 3, and 4, in a sense.
Okay, so then most likely across, in front of Joe Kerr, would they do something that was more like landscapey looking, or?
Yeah, we
At
did
least where they-
find that this lot 16, in order to get this reduced view shed buffer, they have to have an opaque screening of some type in the view shed here. So they're gonna have to do something here. On this side, we can't really require that they screen, but they want to, and there's already some natural screening there.
Okay.
Like if you drive down Joe Carr Road, you'll see
Yeah.
this row of trees that they don't really want or need to disturb.
Oh, that
Yeah.
would be an interesting twist. That would be
Well,
nice. No, that would be good.
in our tree ordinance, we do require them to replace any tree that they remove that's over 12
Mm-hmm.
inches in diameter, and so if you don't have to remove
Yeah,
a
why
tree,
would you?
why would you?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, and those are
So-
some cedars and stuff. Right
Yeah,
down
so
the-
this line,
Yeah.
there's two rows. There's the row along the road, and then there's this
deeper natural.
there's this
road.
road back here.
Yeah,
And they intend to keep it all.
yeah.
And then
Look at that
if you
grass.
and then if you look at the land itself, it really tends to a subdivision like this because it's all open.
Yeah, wow.
That's
And
great, really.
the tree perimeter is already planted.
Yeah,
The
Well, that's why the
density-
developers, they've done part of their work right there, right?
Yeah.
Whoever did that.
And they say they might even be able to leave all of these trees up here. Maybe they need to cut less than 10 trees, and if they will, they plant it in the
Yeah.
viewshed area.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Well, that was
and I think the only other question or concern we had, we were just wondering why they were so heavy on one side of the street, not the
Yeah.
other. We understand that better now because of the hill splitter buffer
Yeah.
requirement. All right,
little buffer.
any other questions?
Maybe they could
or-
call it Hill Splitter Estates.
Kim?
Yeah, Rohit, you said that they were they were giving us the easement, but they're also going to do the construction
Yeah.
of the walkway, right?
They were interested in building at least the loop part of the sidewalks shown in the easements,
Yeah,
and then we would deal with these spurs later. They may even build this spur if they get Marvin Creek's desire to connect sometime during their development time period.
Because that would be that connection would be a nice thing for all of the business that we've talked about, with trails being a little longer, connecting a little bit better, and having more parking, because you've got a little bit more areas that the public could kind of, put their car, if you've got both of them connected.
Yeah, good point.
Because Marvin Creek's big.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
All right.
Hills
Any
Pierce.
other questions? Then do I hear a motion on the table to recommend the sketch plan of the estates at Marvin Branch subdivision?
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye.
We are a machine.
Rose, when do you anticipate building?
Who was the second?
Begin.
At this rate, they still need to go through the construction plan, design and approval, and then the final plats, so the earliest is probably February of next year. If everything gets, approved, without roadblocks.
All right, the next item on the agenda is discussion of the roundabout plantings. And I know this came up in our last meeting prior to the work session, and I think a couple of you folks went out to take a quick look at it.
We did a tour.
I did have a conversation with Derek in anticipation of him not being able to be at this meeting, and I have some notes here from that. And not a whole lot of information other than Derek, Andy, and Kim, I believe you went out and met with the landscapers who originally did the roundabouts there. They did agree to replace a tree that's in the middle there that has already passed on with a crepe myrtle, which is something they think will be able to take there. And then also what they wanted to do is to kind of, add some, color things to it now. They were talking about adding some daylilies up front with the lantana. So that's what the old company that did it kind of said that they would do to kind of rectify that situation. Separately, we're moving forward with a different landscape company to take over the maintenance, killing weeds, putting mulch and those things. The grass that's there seems to, people
You
seem
mean
to
the pathway
feel.
grass?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
They seem to feel that that's not dead, it's not doing great with the lack of water that we've had and
About to
stuff.
fix that.
But that they're gonna work to also kind of make sure that we keep that grass growing. So that's kind of the update I got from Derek. Kim, is there anything more you want to add to that?
No, I don't think that there's anything new. I did briefly talk to Derek last week when I was in the office, and when we met with him was about a month ago, and they were planning on trying to replace what has died. But at this point, I think we're too far into the summer to do anything, and I think everything's just gonna burn up. And so I told Derek to push it off until the fall, because I don't think anything's gonna.
Even the tree?
Even the tree, because we're gonna have to put so much water on it, and we don't have the capability to put the water on it that it needs in the middle of the summer to get it to grow. I think in the fall, winter, we probably can get some, water on it that's not as needed as it will be in the summer.
No, that's the better time to plant a tree, is in the fall,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So I told Derek to push it off, but I don't know if he's talked to them and done that yet or not, but I had that conversation with him last week.
Well, I think maybe one of the things that play here is that if we're switching companies
Right.
anyway, you know, and they're willing, the old company's willing to replace the tree and, you know, kind of on their way out. Does that make sense to do with the potential it might take, or I don't know?
I mean, I don't think so. I think we're just gonna rip it up in the fall because it's gonna die again. We're not gonna get enough water on that thing, both of them, because both of them are dead at each roundabout.
Yeah.
We just don't, I mean, we don't have the capability to get water to it. And they were supposed to water it, and I don't know what happened, where the ball got dropped, but I mean, I don't think it's worth it, because I think it's just gonna die.
Yeah.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Agreed, yes, agreed.
The other question I've got is, well, daylilies, they're pretty when they bloom, and they're ugly as soon as the bloom's off.
The minute it gets hot, they just.
Daylilies are ugly, they are, the foliage is ugly. My question is, why don't we just leave well enough alone until the fall, and let our new landscaper, whoever does it, make a recommendation to the group, coming forward with, be it a crepe myrtle or be it some other type of tree, and the plantings that we're gonna move forward with. I think the daylily idea is, I know it's well intended, but I think when the daylily's bloom's gone, you're gonna be looking at ugly foliage.
They just look fried.
They do.
You know, you can't water them enough. And since we can't water them, it's good, they're gonna be particularly, and that soil is
So
harsh.
I would just pass on
Yeah,
that.
Well, I don't think that they're, I told Derek not to plant anything right now.
Good.
Okay, good.
Nothing's going to live.
Okay.
I don't know that the landscaper that we have hired, the new one, is like a landscape designer. I think they are just come out, weed, mow, but I don't know that.
Well, we can tell them what to do in
If
the
they're a low
fall.
blow go guy,
We can tell them, we can give them some help in the
Yeah.
fall. But I still don't think,
the critical piece, Kim, honestly, for the fall, and you've seen it, we got a great example right now before us, if you look at the roundabout. The plant material that was picked out by the current landscaper, and I think Kim would agree, most people would agree, the plant material to start with wasn't good. And then we put poor plant material in soil that wasn't good. So whoever takes over this project coming up in the fall, I hope we're very familiar with quality of plants, how to access quality of plants, and then certainly improve that soil before putting the plants in. So.
would you be willing, I would be willing to go help them not find them, but pick the plants out.
Oh, absolutely.
Because what they picked out was
Yeah.
sad.
We need to go to
I think-
a good wholesaler and pick out the plant material that we're gonna be.
Well, I think that makes a lot of sense, because I'm not sure that, you know, I don't know plants like you guys know plants, but I agree, I think they were not the healthiest plants, and probably didn't get the right fertilizer, etc., when they were planted. But with that being said, we should not wait until the fall to figure out what we want to do
We
there.
won't.
We
We
need to
won't.
do that. Like, that should be probably on July's agenda.
Absolutely.
We can,
And
let us do that.
Yeah.
or you guys can work on it, whatever, but let's not wait, and let's get a plan in place so that, like, whoever is gonna do this, and we need to talk to Derek about it, they're ready to plant in like the beginning of October, like.
Perfect.
Good.
Yes.
And hopefully, fingers crossed, we may have a well by then.
Oh, God bless. I was gonna ask you about the well.
But even so, the fall will be a lot easier to manage new growth or not new growth, but new plants than the summer would be, so.
Right,
We'll be-
right, and that's what I told Derek, but we're working on the well, so fingers crossed that we'll have that we can water.
Well, thank you for your efforts on that. I think that's great news.
So just to wrap this one up, our intent is just, you know, share with Derek that, hey, yeah, you know, we're enough into the heat of things, and it's been so dry to date, you know, it'll take a lot of rain to even get us, you know, into some decent soil conditions. That it's really just best to wait till the fall at this point. That we recognize it was an issue. it's enough of an issue where it doesn't make sense to try to address it now, that, that you and Bob, will kind of come up with a game plan for the fall.
Yep.
And we'll really attack it then, at that
I will
point.
know what we've got left up there.
Yeah,
I
Yeah,
promise you
soon.
it'll look good,
yeah,
whatever
sure.
we come up with.
Your July meeting is on July 13th, by the way, so.
Thank you for reminding me.
Because we moved it for July 4th.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Okay.
Well, we can work between now and then, and I can do,
Yeah,
Okay.
Well, we'll need to make sure Dan's here so we have a quorum.
yeah, or,
Well, I may be here, I can't recall, we're going to the mountains for a week, I'm thinking it's that date.
yeah.
So it's July 13th?
Mm-hmm. Just let me know.
And, yeah. Okay, everybody good there?
yep.
All right, moving on to.
Maybe we should make a sign that says we're working on this.
Really?
No, really.
Please excuse the dead plants.
We could put something on the website. I don't know if anybody would see it, but just to say roundabouts, yes, we're working on them. Give us a minute.
I can do it.
I mean, it might dissuade one or two from calling John or Bob.
Next item in unfinished business is discussion of Eagle Scout projects, and Bob, I've got you on.
Well, I was really hoping Derek would be here because, I don't know, honestly, I don't know who the contacts are, but I thought the discussion today was really about ideas for projects for Eagle Scouts.
For us to come up with
With
ideas.
ideas for Eagle Scouts, and I know Christina gave me one, and that was, in fact, it's number one on my list, is compost bins for the garden.
For the community garden. And actually, you could do one for the cottage garden too. If you've got people who want to do them, we could use one back there too.
Which I thought was a great idea because it's something different.
Mhm.
You know, and I went out on, and maybe y'all did as well, I went out on the internet to find out what were the most popular Eagle Scout projects and try to figure out which ones might fit or may not fit within the boundary of Eagle Park or Marvin
Yeah.
in general. And the question I've got as I did that, do the Eagle Scouts, in terms of communication, in terms of, do they work with the schools a lot? John, you have experience at this, don't you?
No, I don't, I mean, there's been a couple of Eagle projects that we've worked with and come through, but I don't know that they're necessarily affiliated often with the schools.
That's not been my experience, but my experience has
Yeah.
been very small.
Well, the reason I was asking, Parkland High School,
Parkland.
Wood.
Parkwood.
Wood.
Okay.
I know it's not part of Marvin, but you know, I need to talk to you about it, but they want to put in a garden. And I was just wondering about that type of project.
Oh, doing a project for a school.
For a school.
Oh, that
So
kind of
when- So when
affiliation.
we need labor for larger projects for schools, is that something Eagle Scouts do? And that's the reason I was hoping Derek would be here to, you know, because he works with them all the time. And,
The ones that we've had working in Monroe, they, like one, in most of the cases, it's a guy. Not, it won't be moving forward, but one guy has been like the project manager almost, and that's his Eagle Scout project, but he can bring in other people. Usually they're other scouts.
and the other question is, we keep talking about Eagle Scouts. But my daughter was very involved in Scouts growing up.
Well, scouts is scouts now. Girls are in scout, Boy Scouts. So not Girl Scout.
I'm not
Girl
very
Scouts
well.
are Girl Scouts. You're not very well.
No.
Girl Scouts are Girl Scouts, but Boy Scouts are Scouts. So anybody can be a Boy Scout now, but everybody can't be Girl Scouts. And I know this is not the forum to.
So, but, so I guess what
So an
he's
Eagle Scout
wondering
could
though, are there separate?
Girl Scout.
Girl
Eagle
Are there
Scout
not
projects.
organizations
projects.
that are different, or is it just scouting?
No,
So
I
there's no
think
other
that-
Boy Scouts?
No, I think it's still called-
there's still two so totally separate organizations.
Yes,
But
yeah.
the Boy Scouts now also allow Girl Scouts as well.
They're co-ed, if you will.
Okay.
But
The
do
reason for-
girls have?
The
do-
reason for the question was, in terms of contacts and involvement, we tend to only talk about Eagle Scouts.
Yeah.
But you're right, and I know Girl Scouts are, because I provided some plants for a Girl Scout project, and it was a big project. She was building a garden at a church. So the Master Gardeners provided her some plants. So I know the Girl Scouts do bigger projects too. I don't know what they call them. but that's,
Okay, I'll get up with Derek and get contacts, John.
Yeah,
And like I said, I was just hoping today that Derek will be here to give me some direction as well
yeah.
for future stuff.
That's a good list, by the way.
what's the, what's the?
That's a good list. I would read it.
Do you want to read down through
Yeah,
your list,
'cause-
Paul?
Well, I just put this together.
Benches,
One is for
benches.
Eford Park, possibly install stone fire pit with benches next to picnic area, install a flagpole, build informational kiosks for informational gardening or
Which we do have one.
anything about
Events.
environmental
Yeah, events, yeah.
events, build mason bee houses. We put up a mason bee house in our garden, and they're incredible creatures. They're not aggressive bees, and what they do, the Eagle Scouts can make them. They're little holes. They're a certain centimeters, and they go in there and they lay their egg, and they create this almost a clay. They seal the little tunnel with this clay, but the larva, when it grows, it feeds off this clay, and it eats its way back out, and it pollinates gardens. And they're not aggressive, and they're very
We
simple,
need some of those in the garden.
and they're very simple to build, and it'd be something nice, I think, to add to.
Yep.
It'd be something easy to do. And then create outdoor workout equipment was a big one on the internet. And I'm thinking to myself, we've been talking about doing that, getting sponsors or somebody to do the workout, the benches and all. It'd be really interesting if we could get an Eagle Scout to help out on that project. Because some of that's not that difficult. It's pretty basic carpentry. Create signs to identify plants and trees in the park. So that, you're talking about doing a nature trail. Well, everybody says, well, people rip out the signs. Well, that's just not true. All the time. My brother has a garden, and they have bus tours come in, and from all over. And he's got a sign for every plant, the Latin name and the generic name. And he has no issue with that, and he has thousands of people come through the garden annually. Now, that's not to say that we're not gonna have some taken, but we can replace them, but that'd be a great thing to do from an educational
It would
perspective.
be awesome.
So when people come into the garden, they can find out what the plant is and identify it. I think from an educational perspective, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And have schools come out. So,
I mean, this whole nature walk thing could become a thing
yeah.
that we just do.
So I thought that was pretty good. Create a butterfly garden.
Done.
Okay. Or
Well,
another.
we could do
At a
another.
school. At a
But
school.
yeah, somewhere not in the park, but we could do another one in the park too. I mean,
Yeah.
God knows we've got enough seeds.
And then,
And now milkweed.
and then the idea, Christina, is marsh grows, and I fully anticipate it growing, and being more involved with the schools, especially, hopefully, now that we're aligned with Union County Educational Foundation. And one of the reasons we did that, obviously, was to get Marsh's name out there, to get more involvement in the schools, get certification for schools, so on and so forth. And as part of that is we've met with some of the schools, their expectation of assistance isn't just identifying what they need for certification. What they're looking for as well is some labor resource. So if they're building a garden or whatever it is they intend to do, John, Eagle Scouts could hopefully help us with the labor resource. Parkwood is going to put in a garden, and Tara's supposed to give that to me. But anyway, those are some of the ideas. I'm sure other people have a lot more than I do. But
Well,
any
as a-
idea would be very welcome, believe me.
As a labor source, it doesn't have to be Eagle Scouts, right? It could be any Scouts
It could
at that
be
point,
any-
right?
yeah.
I work with Scouts on the Heritage Trail in Monroe, and I get some decent work out of them. I don't have to,
Yeah, we
pound them too bad.
we've had them in the past, very engaged, the local Boy Scout groups,
Yeah.
where, you get 12 or 15 kids and their parents out on a Saturday.
And they
And
work.
that's been a good source. I just, as people have changed and things like that, some of the contacts get,
Oh, sure.
come and go. But yeah, certainly just the Scouts in general, separate from Eagle Scouts, are sometimes better for those type projects. I think the Eagle Scout projects, they're more of a defined thing where there's a finished product at
Right.
the end, and you know.
And they have some criteria.
Yeah, there's some
that
criteria
have to
around
meet.
those type of things. So I don't know if you've seen what that specific criteria is, but some of those may or may not fit better or not into those. So I would say maybe take a look at those.
The only
specific
one on
criteria.
here that wasn't recommended by the Eagle Scouts was involving them in marsh projects.
Yeah.
All the above would,
I mean, if a
Fit in.
bench qualifies as an Eagle Scout project, a 3-stage compost bin is going to
I would
qualify.
think.
Yeah.
A little bit more wood.
Yeah.
Well, and
we have
even
plenty
like
of bench.
the walkway, the raised walkway that we had there at the park, or that we have there at the park, that was an Eagle Scout
Yeah,
project.
bridges, we have bridges that they
Yeah.
built over on the trail, so yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that.
But they,
Well, I'll get up with Derek and get more
Okay.
details in terms of contacts.
And I don't know, I saw Harrison Bellamy talking to you.
yeah,
Is he specifically working toward a scout
that's
project?
what I thought.
Because I thought previously Derek had said he didn't have any Eagle Scouts actively looking right now.
So he was looking
But
to do.
I know Harrison, so I.
Oh,
saw
so you know him,
talking.
okay, so he was looking to do an area to put a swing, you know,
Yeah.
like a 2-seater, or I guess 3 if you're skinny, swing, like near the lake. And so he was gonna mark off some spots where he thought that would work, and get that back to me or Derek, and maybe he's talked to Derek, but he hasn't talked to me.
Okay, I just didn't know. He was.
And that was an Eagle Scout
Because
project.
I know he's involved in scouting. He's a junior now. He's in my
So that's
daughter's
fine.
grade, so he's a rising senior.
Yeah.
So he's about that age.
So is Derek on point for that?
Well,
With
Harrison-
Eagle Scouts?
He has been in the past, you know, because usually he's the guy they would come to.
Okay.
So I think he naturally, being part of staff, was more of it. I think what Derek was asking when he asked you to kind of
Right.
download a little bit of it
Yeah.
is when he does get these requests. I don't know if he got a formal
Well,
request.
the thing then that I
No,
would
not-
like to ask of our group is, I'd like to make 2 recommendations there. One is we pursue the compost bin. So if we have an Eagle Scout that wants to do a project, a compost bin would be one of those.
Cause we can tell them what we need.
Yeah, we can, I can go on the internet and get designs for these things, and I think it'd be great in terms of educational opportunities. And then the other one would be, again, I think and it's a difficult project, this isn't something simple, is getting all the signs made for plant identification, tree identification along the trails and within the park. It's not you don't sit down overnight and do this, because you gotta find out what, I'd get with my brother to help him, but in terms of the labels, because he's been doing this for 35 years and finally figured out what works and doesn't work in terms of the signs, but get up with them. And those are 2 projects I think it would be incredibly worthwhile for somebody to take on, and would have educational benefit for a long time for a lot of people. So
The
those would be
labeling-
my 2.
The labeling project, you could even do like a stretch of, not the entire park, cause I
No,
don't
no,
know
I'm
that
talking about
a
the
16-year-old
trail.
could live long enough to do that.
No,
I mean,
no, I'm-
but like, here's an area that you're gonna do,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
I would love to know what your brother's using for labels, because it's an issue
Okay.
with several of my people.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So.
And I've got Harrison's text, or I can wait till Derek gets back. I think he'll be back soon. But to see if he's already talked to him about
Yeah.
the swing thing, because I don't know that he was dead set on that. And
Because
he might do a
he
comment.
just showed up there as part
Yeah,
of
but I
volunteer,
just had,
right?
he was gonna show up at the park. Derek wasn't available. He knew I was gonna be there. So he
Okay.
just connected us.
Gotcha.
And we walked around and looked for places to put swings. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so he might be an option.
Well, I'll just get up with Derek and figure out a process to convert and help him out.
Yep.
And let him know that we have 2 projects that we'd like to pursue.
Yep.
And then talk to the Eagle Scouts, make sure they're comfortable with it, and we'll move forward with those.
I think that would be great.
And then when they're done, we'll add to our list.
And we could use 2-3 park compost bins, one at the vegetable garden, the community garden, and one at the cottage garden easily. We could do that. Because we're pulling stuff out of that cottage garden every day I go over there and work.
Well, then what I'll do,
Compost.
Christina, we'll go out there and you can show me exactly what you feel we need.
Yep.
And then,
The community garden will be the first one I do though.
okay.
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's stuff there right now ready to be composted.
Okay.
Well, it's doing it itself.
All right. Is that good?
Yep. All right. Moving on to the next item is discussion of 2022 Marvin Day celebration. I spoke to Derek, but this is really more just a continuation of the conversation, the work sessions that we'll be having. We'll have those dedicated work sessions, but then also kind of follow up and you know, keep staff and others that might not have been at a work session or something where we're at. So,
And your next work session, by the way, will be on July 27th, I believe.
okay, because we were doing those every other
month. Mhm.
Yeah. So between we'll still have another regular meeting before this. I was very happy with you know, what we kind of did during the work session, and I think some really good ideas. I did have to leave early, so you guys, if there was anything after
I
left,
concur. I thought it was an excellent meeting.
Yeah, but did anything big happen after he left?
If it was, I put it in the minutes.
There you go.
Okay.
But John, while we're on this subject, the one thing, and this is a question for Kim and I guess all of us. I think there are a lot of great ideas, and I'm excited about Marvin Day. What I was I'm still not sure of is who is on point. I know I'm going to do garden tours. I know you're going to do nature trails, but who is the person that we all, for lack of a better word, report to ensure that everything's going and we're not at the last minute and Bob Nunnenkamp hadn't done a darn thing on the garden tour. So who's the person on point? John, are you the guy?
Well, I could be, but I guess what we need to determine too is that staff, or is it somebody kind of as a volunteer? You know, because there's things that need to be coordinated from a staff perspective, I think, as we're gonna go through this, you know.
Well, James is doing music, and so I just think there needs to be somebody on point
Yeah, I agree.
that we report to, because in my opinion,
Yeah,
I think the activities are critically important, we said that. But as important is the communication, the coordination to ensure this goes off well, because I'm hoping Marvin Day too, the subsequent year,
you want something to
we build on.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to go about this on an ad hoc basis where, you know, you trust me, I trust you, and hopefully we can all trust each other.
Fingers crossed that we got it done.
I just think there needs to be somebody on.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Let me bring Kim into this conversation, because Kim, you know, I think we as an advisory board, right? We don't, you know, it's through you and council that staff really acts at your direction, you know? What are your thoughts on who really that point person should be? I know even Jamie, from a council perspective, has wanted to kind of take a greater role in this. Is it somebody that's on council? Should it be someone on staff? Should it be someone on this board? Or
So I think for accountability purposes, I think it's got to be somebody on staff, which it's going to probably fall on Derek. He's not here, so we're going to volunteer for him. So he missed the meeting, you know. No, I do think it should be, you know, just with the accountability piece of it, I think it's got to be somebody on staff. I am more than happy to continue to, you know, obviously I'm, you know, the liaison for Parks and Greenway. I'm more than happy to do that for Marvin Day. We obviously have an election coming up in November, so I am running again, but I might not get reelected, so, you know, I might lose that position. But I'm more than happy to, and I know that Jamie is as well, so I kind of feel like it's got to be a staff, council kind of combo, but I really think, you know, for the accountability piece, it's going to have to be somebody on staff, which is really going to be Derek.
Yeah, and And if I may add from like a strictly personnel perspective, like Kelly's job was officially partially to be an event coordinator, and when she retired, that responsibility fell onto Derek. So,
Okay.
so technically, that's his, part of his purview
Okay.
to manage events.
And I think with everything else he does too, to the extent that we who take, individual components of this away, but like, I think we're all agreeing, there does need to be some coordinating, overriding factor to kind of help keep us scheduled, help keep us on track.
Because something will fall through the cracks.
Oh,
It just,
guarantee it.
I promise it will.
Oh, yeah.
It may still, but the chances are less.
Yes.
If
Yeah.
you've got one place where it all funnels through. And I
Okay.
think that was his expectation based on kind of the tone from
I
the
think
last
so,
meeting.
too,
So
and
I
I
don't think
think-
he'll be shocked.
Well,
Yeah,
I just wasn't sure. I mean, I knew he conducted the meeting on it, but that's different than taking it on totally.
yeah.
So,
But I think he'll need all our support.
Yeah,
to make
he
that
will.
work.
He-
I mean,
he will.
it's a group effort.
And I personally, am also, because I think I said I'll start reaching out to some of the equestrian folks,
Right,
right?
right.
I'm also looking to find people that have a passion that are looking to get more involved, because, I'm looking for that work as we take these areas and kind of branch out, that the intent isn't just for us to all do it on our own either.
No,
Be-
you
but
can't do it.
correct, but you want to create kind of a multiplying effect,
Right.
to where that makes you more effective too, because you have a couple of people maybe doing some of the things in your purview, and the more that people do get involved, hey, it can be fun, planning out things like that. And we know there's people in our community that are, very high driven, A-type personalities, and you give them a bone, they're gonna chew on it, it's just identifying the right people and keeping the engagement with them, because it's so easy when it's so far away right now to think,
Yeah.
oh gosh, we have a year,
We
but
already don't have a year
we've
now.
already, we're gonna have a date to council by July, right? And their meeting in July is before the one on the
I thought you
22nd.
guys already picked a
We
date.
already
You
picked
picked
it.
May 21st.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, I didn't know if we put that solid in stone yet, but,
but it's a good example. I know what you're talking about.
okay. So, so I think we're in a good place on that. It's only been, really a week since we had that meeting with the holiday in there, so I don't know that we have a lot of updates now, but
Well, is there anything that we need to discuss relative to, I guess, it was a week. I had a couple of things that I thought of since then, but I don't know that this is the time to do that.
yeah, I think this is where we just want to kind of continue to touch base, because we always have an agenda full of other items, It's a touch point for things that we may have, asked a question about or something like that in the work session. We'll keep this on our regular meeting agenda, but really, I think the bulk of it's gonna be done, kind of us on our own, working in those little areas, reporting back during these meetings, and then really getting into the meat of it during the work sessions.
Well, I will ask one question, just because it would require some work. We did talk about a logo. Am I supposed to be working on that? Because I could bring back some ideas by the 27th, or not. Doesn't-
A logo for the celebration itself.
yeah.
Marv.
Yeah, I really hated to bring it up. I really
I'm
did.
sorry, it's a good chuckle though. I was-
It's hilarious. Yeah.
Well, what's
Yes.
gonna be even more funny is that we go with it.
So-
Yes, if you could work on a logo, that would be good.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw this out, so you won't be shocked when I come back. But one of the options will not be a horse, I can tell you. It's cause, and here's my thinking on it, and so I can back it up. I think that 10 or 20 years ago, this was absolutely an equestrian, I can't even say it, a horse place. And even in those decades, it has less and less, horses are expensive, right? Fewer and fewer horses, more and more people, And the thing that has changed, and you'll appreciate this part, is marsh and that focus on wildlife, not just horses, right? So I'm thinking maybe something that's more wildlife focused, and hill splitters apparently is what it needs to, or yeah, that's what it needs to be. That'll get a lot of people happy. But something wildlife focused to bring it all back in together. The hill splitter.
Yeah.
It's not really pretty. I know. This is our.
This is why you listen to the audio.
This is our. This is our mascot. That's not going to go well. No. I'll think about it.
So if you.
I would say that, like, because we have like such a long time between like our planning sessions, and if we have updates, like I've reached out to Firethorn, I'm waiting on them to get back to me with an appointment time so that I can go in and talk to them. Like any updates or any issues that we're running into or questions, things like that, like we should be talking about them now, because we can't go
Exactly.
2 months without updating, and then that also continues to hold us accountable
Yeah.
for not waiting for 2 months to work on it. So
And remind me, have we moved this to monthly at some point? These
Are every other
Every
month
month.
through the rest of the year.
through the rest of the year. Then maybe after that we move them to monthly. I hate that for you all, but
Yeah.
It depends on what you guys need.
yeah, exactly. But we just to get that kind of in your head with the Heritage Festival, which is a bit bigger than this and been going on longer. We have a monthly meeting pretty much starting in January for a September festival. And we don't really break much. I mean, it's month, and it actually will go to twice a month before it's over, probably.
Once you guys kind of have this nailed down to a science in future years, where you essentially have a
absolutely.
manual for this, you probably won't need as many meetings.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. The Heritage Festival's been going on for like almost 10 years, and we're still doing but it's a little bit more complicated.
Well, and I think, maybe it's in the fall, we realize there's a couple of things we really need to get done then from a timing perspective. We can always call another one
Absolutely.
in between
No,
as a
it's
special
fine.
meeting.
I like having it like it is. This just as an update too, because I think it was just Jamie, me, and Derek on this email. Derek found out how much the Blue Dogs cost. Want to guess the band? He threw out the
band.
Band,
Okay.
yeah. He threw out Derek threw out the name, the Blue Dogs, to do that Saturday night big event, and they are $10,000 plus production costs. And so I asked my husband, what does that mean, production costs? And he goes, oh, that's the PA, the stage, everything. So you're looking at 12.5 to 15 would be my guess to get all of that other stuff. And you've got to have a sound guy, on and on. And so we were like, I don't think so. So I did check with the guy who manages, who gets gigs for us, and he said you ought to be able to get a well-known local band with a following. That's kind of how you gauge it, for $2,000 to $3,500. So, and no travel costs there because it'd be.
Christine, do you sing?
I do. You don't want us.
All right.
Unless you want we call ourselves a divorce band. Not a wedding band, we're a divorce band.
So we'll have a little bit more time to kind of report on some of
my
our
gosh.
progress with our individual areas by the next meeting, and we'll kind of work from there. Bob?
No, I'll ask her after me.
Okay. Next is new business items. The first is discussion of communications for Marvin Day. Volunteers, sponsors, businesses, and this is PRNG.
That's all, yeah. You
in
guys
general.
asked me to put this on the agenda.
What were we thinking?
Yeah, so, I think it's what I've said, is that in our individual areas, the first thing to do is to look for the volunteers, right? So some other folks that might help support us in the particular areas that we're talking about. And is it like, let's say we get some people that are interested, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it appropriate to have them come in as part of a work session, maybe?
Yeah, it's a public meeting.
Okay.
It's a public meeting.
I just
Good,
didn't.
that would be helpful.
John, question.
Answer.
Everybody agrees that this thing's gonna move move at light speed at some point. And we've got a great website now, and I don't know what the participation on the website is today relative to what it might have been 6 to 8 months ago.
I don't know. I still don't know.
But it
Now, I
be-
would like to know
that
what
would,
you're
that would be a
hearing.
really nice thing to know, number one.
Are they
But the
paying
reason is, I would, my recommendation is to create an announcement now currently on Marvin, on our website saying, Marvin Day coming, looking for volunteers.
Absolutely.
And
Well, I would say volunteers and sponsors.
I've been-
but
yes.
whatever.
I've
But
been
use the
mentioning-
website and just say, hey, this thing's coming, something to look forward to, but we're looking for volunteers. Would you like to get engaged in the community?
I need to create. I've been meaning to create a volunteer specific page on the website. There's various things. We have board
Constant.
openings. We have board openings.
Yeah.
I know, Marsh, you need some new blood.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's a good idea.
Live humans, that's what we're looking for.
And I think really the purpose of this was really to give me
We're all there.
give me ideas for anything you guys want to send out in emails about this, any kind of messages that you want to target any groups.
Because I think we need both of those things. Your volunteer
Mm-hmm.
part of the website, and maybe an announcement about Marvin Day, especially once we decide that the 21st is really the date. I mean, it's kind of like save the date, go ahead and get that done. But I guess that has to be settled through council. But then send out an email saying this is what we're looking for.
Well, let me ask you this:
A press
if you
release.
guys have any ideas about specific wording, things you want to say, the way you want to write a message, send me drafts if you want,
Okay.
if you're interested, and I can try to adapt those to messages.
Yeah, I'm supposed to be working on one of those for Marvin right now. I'm already a week or two late. So yeah, and maybe not your person.
If we're waiting on council to bless that date, I would say let's wait.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's what I meant.
Let's wait
Yeah.
till we get that date blessed, and then as soon as it is, we put out like a save the date, Marvin Community Day, along with some information about what we expect it to be, looking for volunteers and sponsors.
Right.
And
And this is what that
Like a save
means.
the date, and yeah.
And when I send that out, I can structure that email to whereas if you're interested in volunteering, click here. If you're interested in being a
Yes,
sponsor,
yes.
click here.
And volunteering can mean a lot of different things. Volunteering can mean sitting in the meetings with us and planning the whole thing. It could also mean showing up that day and
Correct.
doing something. So it could be a really
Helping with
small.
parking and
Yeah, it could be a
stuff, or-
small amount of work, or it could be a lot.
In the meantime, I can go ahead and create this volunteer page because I've got a lot to actually put on there.
Yeah.
I'm a bit swamped at the moment, but I'll try
I
to get
understand.
that done before the next PRG meeting.
Perfect. That would
Yeah.
be useful on all kinds of levels.
I would go ahead and work, again, I know you're busy, but I would go ahead and start working on a draft announcement, because I have a feeling that our Tuesday meeting next week, we're gonna go ahead and say, we've got the date, we're gonna say we're good with it, and then we can go ahead and start, putting that information out there.
Cool.
I'll volunteer to work on a draft.
Okay,
announcement.
that's fine.
Oh,
Yeah.
I might steal some of
Okay.
these ideas.
I love when board members save me time.
So, but I would go ahead and let's do that, because, I know that we said, we'd like to have that by July, but if we've got the date now, I think, we as council can probably go ahead and say, yeah, that sounds good to us. Let's go ahead and put it on everybody's calendar.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's ahead of schedule. That's always a good thing.
okay.
I have one more thing to add, and this might mess things up a little bit. Is it gonna be called Marvin Day? Or is it gonna be, are we just being lazy? Or I don't mean lazy in a bad way, but it's like, well, that's kind of what we've got it. See, it says Marvin Day.
I've got it called the Marvin Day celebration.
Yeah.
It could be Marvin. It could be Marvin Community Day too.
Yeah.
It could. I think one of the things that we want to do though is, we've all got this recognition that Marvin isn't really just Marvin. There's a lot of donut holes and people that even think they're in Marvin that may or may not be in Marvin. I think what we're continuing to try to do as a community is to reach out to educate those people on what Marvin does. I know that there's initiatives where they're looking, to find people for voluntary annexation and things of that nature. You know, so I think whatever it is, whether it's Marvin Community or Marvin, you know, whatever day, that it sounds
It
more
feels
encompassing.
Yeah, more inclusive, yes, not.
Because if we're gonna be getting to the point where we're, you know, publicizing it through the schools and things like that, you know, which is one of the best ways we have to get information out, especially elementary schools, things like that. It goes to all the folks,
Yeah.
the ones that are in, you know, Union County proper as well, so.
And from our last meeting, I got the feel that this is to celebrate Marvin, but to also be a bit of PR for
And
people.
reaching out,
Yeah,
yeah.
to say, hey, we're over here and it's very cool over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's part of why we're also highlighting our law enforcement, our support of
Yeah.
fire groups, all of those things, you know, to make sure that people that maybe aren't even paying Marvin taxes at this point, that they at least understand the benefits that we're bringing to everyone, you know?
Yeah, just something to think about, because when, we're calling it Marvin Day, and I thought maybe we ought to think.
Yeah, and if we're gonna put out an announcement at some point, we'll want to be consistent in our branding to some
Well, we
degree.
want, but we won't have a logo by then, and
Yeah.
so, to me, we can still do a save the date.
Yeah.
This is what's coming, and that as we communicate with them, we distill it more and more and say, now this is what's gonna be there, and this
Yeah.
band's gonna be there, and these vendors are gonna be there, whatever. And this is a new sponsor
Yeah,
we just got.
Like, if we decide that that's not what we want to call it, and we kind of get out an early save the date, we can just say a day to celebrate the Marvin community.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then if we
then
want to leave
come-
it Marvin Day, then it's fine. But if we want to change it, but then this way it's just kind of, you know, a day to celebrate the Marvin community, save the date,
yeah,
lots more
exactly.
information coming.
Yeah, we can be more vague at the beginning and get more
Yeah.
detailed as we have details, because we really don't have any except the date right this minute.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And a horse called Marvin.
All right,
You know,
sounds good.
Or a heel splitter called Marvin.
I think I was starting to write a bad song at this point.
It's a really bad song.
we could have a horse out
The
there.
next item on new business is discussion of Belgrove Greenway, and that's Rohit.
Okay, so at the last coffee with council, and I've been working with these ladies for a few weeks before this, but a couple of people who live in Belgrove, and I am not screen sharing. so let me
Tiny
do this, but
piggies,
you've already
Rohit.
seen it.
Businesses that show up on these maps are hilarious. There's the Sugar Rush one. I don't know if you were here for that.
Oh, yeah, that
Oh
one.
my God, I've got to know this person.
Oh,
Do they deliver?
Well, we were talking about
Favorite
that.
thing.
We need to know what that is.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
okay.
Belgrove over
Livestock, that's, we know where to get pigs.
Anyway, these two,
Pigs and vanishes.
these two people live in the Belgrove neighborhood, and they've raised concern about the Greenway segment that would go from Bonds Grove Church Road up to the power line. They basically raised a couple of concerns that, one, it's very close. It would be very close to the backyards of these two people, and they really would rather their privacy. And in this area, it's in the bottom of a creek alignment, so they're saying it'd be flooded all the time, and that would be a mess. So they're basically proposing that we ask the developer to not build this segment here, and I would say normally, I'm not in favor of removing any greenway segments, but it is redundant from the sidewalk along the street, and if we retain this greenway segment here to connect to the power line, then we might actually save ourselves a lot of trouble by not building a greenway that would be very difficult to maintain in this area here, and not building a greenway that the 4 existing residents are all would all be opposed to.
I guess one question I would have is that also where the Union County sewer easement is? Because I thought there was discussion, so that's the sewer easement right there?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah, so I think there's a Union County sewer easement there, and then I also think there was the potential to connect to, where kind of Willow Lake and, Providence Ridge
Yeah.
kind of join.
Yeah. Well, that's.
They kind of have their own trails in there, so
Mhm.
I thought there were some trails in there already that we were looking to connect to. Well, I guess that's Willow Creek
Yeah.
over there.
One of these, it's kind of a joint neighborhood. One of these is Willow Creek and one of them is Providence Ridge.
Yeah, the Willow Creek,
Yeah,
I think is
it's
this
here.
one. Yeah, but as I recall, there actually were some trails kind of through some of those.
Do we have unknown trails?
Unknown Trail,
Yeah.
that's the name.
Huh. Go down this way a little bit. Where is there?
I know that courtyard's
Oh,
has
I think
the
it's
trails
got-
going
No,
around
it
here.
wasn't courtyards, yeah.
Dense that neighborhood.
I think it's overlaid with something.
Yeah, I didn't, yeah.
It's
So let's add it in the
Okay,
palms, that bad.
I'm-
It looks
yeah,
like
I'm
it's
not
just muddy, like a muddy.
sure if it might be through here.
What is permanent facial makeup?
Oh, do you really want it
Can you
like
go back to
tattoos
the,
for eyeliner?
because it went through their common
Oh,
areas. So if you can go
You think I
back to
know
the,
much
to
about
the
that? I just
grid
told you everything I
map.
know. But now you know more.
Maybe
This is again why you listen to the audio.
Can you imagine?
I can turn on.
That's the only thing, is I didn't know if it might directly affect that,
What's he
you know?
referring
And then
to?
the other question would
Apparently
be,
it's a-
is that if it
Scares
made
the
sense,
hell
just
out of
because
me.
it gets so
Yeah,
close to
private
theirs,
businesses apparently.
you know, if there's something already that Willow Creek has through their common area,
I'd have to,
it
I'd
might
have to ask
be easier to
someone, maybe
connect.
go
But
down there.
I thought for some reason though that I thought there were
I'm fascinated by
some
the
neighborhood trails that Willow
businesses that
Creek
just
had,
pop
and
up.
whether
It's
they
Very cool.
might make a connector that may make some of that moot
It'll
anyway,
get,
you
it'll be
know?
Right.
more.
Really?
Because we all learn to work
Yeah.
at home.
Just leave that up because of visually, okay, so instead of going up through the tree, yeah,
Mhm.
which John thinks might be a sewer easement, there's a sidewalk
Sewer
where
path.
currently?
On the
The
road.
sidewalk is being, built, in pieces, but it would eventually come along the roadside, like this,
In the neighborhood,
in the neighborhood.
Right.
not out on Bonds Grove.
Well, there's actually already the trail section built here for the, eventual, Greenway segment on the north side of Bonds Grove Church.
So what they're suggesting is the sidewalk within the neighborhood.
Well, I suggested that. They simply came and said, don't build this.
Okay.
Don't do
But you're
this.
suggesting the sidewalk within the neighborhood possibly connect to
Yeah,
the
connect
power
to the
line.
power line.
Yeah, that makes
like this.
sense. Okay.
There's no houses here currently, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I mean, they
Get it
came and
done.
said, they don't want the power line, they don't want Bonds Grove Church Road, or this, they said they don't want any of it, and we're trying to tell them, that's
Is
probably
this
not.
the HOA or is this the?
They don't have
the
an HOA yet,
developers?
they don't have an HOA yet because they.
They're not 80% built
Yeah, they're
out.
not built out.
That's pretty well.
But the lady, I guess, who's coming and raising these concerns has been acting like, pseudo HOA, organizing meetings and. they've
She's
been-
going to end up the
We're not talking
president.
about crime or something?
They were talking about crime and stuff in this cul-de-sac. I mean, we could bring it up, but
Yeah,
You're good.
Crime is a non-issue on these things. It's a straw man argument.
Well, I mean, they said this lady in the cul-de-sac, she's seen lots of people soliciting, not soliciting, just like loitering here in this cul-de-sac here.
In front of someone's house?
Yeah,
That's a whole different issue though, in my opinion.
yeah.
You know, they're probably down there doing drugs because it's a dead end and the neighborhood isn't developed and,
Yeah,
yeah, I can see how that would be, but that's not a Greenway issue, that's.
yeah, that's why I figured I wouldn't bring it up, because I knew you'd say that.
we don't, if the developer doesn't do the Greenway like we had asked them to, then we will be able to get fee and lieu money for that equivalent to then be able to use that fee and lieu money somewhere else, correct?
That would have already been decided, I think, a long time ago.
Yeah, after I said that, something of that effect in the council meeting, but after thinking about it, I'm not entirely sure, I have to look into it, if we can ask them for fee and lieu money after the fact.
Yeah. Because I think that's the choice that they had to make up front at the very
Right.
beginning.
That they either build a Greenway or...
Because planning and all of those things are kind of dependent on, which route they go. So you may be able to kind of revisit it, but my thought always was that was a decision that the developer kind of had to make at the front end.
Yeah.
Well, since we're gonna ask them not to build something,
I figure we could ask them in return to make that sidewalk and connection up to this walkway, this power line trail, better. They have a lot of gaps to fill in this sidewalk anyway. So if we're gonna say, don't build this trail and instead have the sidewalk, they were building these sidewalks per house that was built. So that money could easily go into,
Maybe
filling
they
some
could
of
get
the
it done
gaps.
faster?
Yeah, filling some of the gaps, making crosswalks better, and then maybe fixing some of the drainage issues that happen down here. But instead of the actual fee and lieu procedure, we could easily negotiate that the money not spent on this greenway can be used to improve the connection with the sidewalk.
I was under the assumption from our meeting that we had on Thursday that they were building the sidewalk. Not that we needed to ask them to do that now.
No, they are building the sidewalk, that's correct. That's why I said, it's possible that we could ask them to put that money towards improving that sidewalk, like making it better than just a sidewalk.
Well, the other thing that I would say is that that's a pretty large expanse of wilderness through there that you could almost do something. Now, you might have to talk to Willow Creek, as to whether you might be able to go on their common area a little bit.
Right.
But I think there might be ways that you can do something there and still not be kind of impeding on people. When you look at that overhead map, it's a pretty thick forest there,
Right. You mean to say it might be possible to align the trail outside of the common areas, maybe move it into Willow Creek?
In
give
some
these people
areas,
a lot
yeah. I'm
more
not sure which
privacy.
parcels or who's there, but I'm assuming those two larger ones are Willow Creek. But
Yeah, they
But
are.
again, I kind of remember them having some trails in their neighborhood to begin with.
But, that's not gonna help us with the flooding issue with that.
Yeah, this
Right,
section
right.
here
Down
was
there.
for flood, and I can pull up the contour map to show,
Yeah, and I think, I'm pretty sure that is where the sewer easement comes through, because you can see it's pretty well cut out there, right at the end of that existing sidewalk on Bonds Grove.
Well, are we good to have them, just have the sidewalk and that little connector up to the power line?
Keeping in mind that the power line easement is a future as well, that
Right.
we have to talk to all sorts of.
right. Well, they might build the
Neighbors.
power line easement part of it, this developer. This developer was in.
Well, that's what it was supposed to be, I think.
Right, this
Yeah.
developer was intending to build the whole, loop, if you wanted to call it that. But then by not building this section, it would just be stubs back here.
How long have they been building this subdivision?
A long time.
Okay, it just looked like that. Yeah, it seems odd.
They built 12 homes first, and then the developer changed hands and changed hands again, and now a new developer is building the remaining 16 homes.
Oh gosh, that would be really hard to live through that, because you get really used to it being like it is.
And
Yeah.
Rohit,
Like
that,
it
that, right where you just clicked,
Mhm.
is that an open space?
That is an open space where, if there's a creek there, so that's kind of a
Okay.
main drainage.
Gotcha.
So this is this creek here, this low area in the contours is where that creek would be.
Yeah.
So, this is where the sidewalk would go, and then we would tell a developer to not build that section running along the side, then the power line easement would look something like this, and then that's all that they would build. If they were to build the section running along the side there, it was kind of routed like in the preservation strip, and then there's some flexibility in this area here, but that's exactly the area where,
Where they're saying it's flooding out.
yeah, and you can, if you can read these contours, like
Yeah.
this is the low area here.
Yeah, you can see the elevation change.
Yeah, this is a low area here, and that's pretty much where they'd have to build the, for a whole, 600 feet to, maybe if you count
Yeah.
all the way here, like 1,000 feet, a quarter of a mile, you're building basically in the crack of the
Yeah.
creek. And that would be, that is something that I would agree with, from, especially just coming off the heels of building the Tullamore Trail.
Yeah.
That would be a mess for us to build and, well, for them to build and for us to maintain. And of course, this section is already built here.
So where you have the top side though, and we're talking about, right there where it says 345, 48, are those the actual homeowners that are complaining? Because let's say you eliminate the part that comes straight down from there, but you're still looking to kind of use that easement to connect to that large in-between area of Providence Ridge and Willow Lake, Willow Creek.
One of the homeowners, out of the two homeowners that came, none of them were these two, but they also related that one of these two homeowners was also not in favor of this greenway.
Yeah, because one of them's kind of cleared out pretty much to the greenway.
Yeah.
Oh, their house is way back, yeah. Oh.
Yeah, you could
Yeah,
walk
so
the
Yeah,
walk.
I think it's a good thing to think about right now, and that, we understand some of their concerns at this point.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know that we take it off the map until we have a plan on how we go about
Sure.
kind of getting around it though yet,
Okay.
so.
Agree.
So I think you can share that hey, we're looking at it, we understand some of the concerns there, and we're looking to see if there's some other things that we can do.
I think that's
you know?
a good approach. The developer, I don't know if I told the council yet, but I got word from the developer, they weren't planning to build this trail until September anyway. So there is a lot of time to think about other options, and they are amenable to other options.
It also seems like if you do the sidewalk trail and then go from whatever that little cul-de-sac back there, that they're already saying there's some issues going on, and connect back there, you're just gonna trade one homeowner for another homeowner, because
I would say that potentially that's a better idea because you have a future homeowner who would.
Oh, a future, that's right,
Right.
they're not there.
They're not built yet, so those homeowners would
Okay.
buy the houses, moving in, kind of.
Understanding what's,
Yeah, and
okay, you're right.
having that from the beginning,
Okay.
whereas these homeowners have lived here for maybe even 5 years.
Wow.
So
That's
this
so
was started in 2014, so.
Yeah.
They've maybe even lived here for 5 years with only woods in the back, and then now have a public greenway.
Yeah. That does.
Although
make it
that
hard.
public greenway was there when they bought their
That's true,
properties,
that's
you
true.
know?
It was planted originally.
And I don't know if that's something that we can help address, because we had similar issues with Tullamore, but
Yeah,
you know, is there some sort of disclosure that should be required of these people when they're selling their lots? You know, that, you know, it's one thing if it's just a conceptual line that we have on a map for proposed easements and easeways versus developers who have dedicated specific
This is going
areas
to happen.
for other things, and then all of
Right.
a sudden they want us to get rid of them.
Yeah,
That's a very different thing.
Yeah, that's a really good point. That pretty much nullifies the privacy argument if you think about it, because this alignment is drawn in the construction plan
Correct.
of the neighborhood from 2014.
Yeah.
That's
And I just want to make sure that we're distinguishing those two things, because those developers received certain concessions on other things, or waiver of a fee in lieu, or things like that. Built it into the plan, and every person that buys off there, that's the plan they're buying off of, you know? Versus I have some more sympathy for the folks that have concerns when, you know, we're dissecting a property line with a conceptual thing on a map that's never been, you know, dedicated as an easement before.
That's very
You know?
true.
Yeah.
Very good point.
Yeah.
And that's why we have to be more careful and take a look at it, because now something that the village had to count on, we've got to figure out another way around it for something that we thought we had in place.
That's a very good point. Yeah, I think that's a really good direction from here, to start looking at options. And like I said, I told the developer just kind of keep in mind that this is being discussed. I didn't tell him, don't do it.
Yeah.
Right. So we can get back to the homeowners and get back to the developer and say that we're looking at other options.
Yeah.
Kim, how do you feel about that?
I mean, I'm more concerned about the fact that it floods there and it will get ruined every year, and then the village is then on the hook
Yeah.
to maintain it, rebuild it, and it seems to me like it's gonna be more of a ongoing large expense, that if we can just use sidewalks and a little stuff to, connect to the future power line, then that would be a better option than the village having to continuously rebuild this thing every year when it floods out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why I think we just need a little more due diligence to know what we can kind of release back that doesn't make
We
sense,
know that in fact
but still
it's
leaves
one-
us some options open.
They showed us
Yeah.
pictures. Yeah. Like one of the people who lives in this area has shown us a few pictures of the area in the backyard, and just the water just sits.
Yeah. Yeah. Understood.
Yeah, I mean, if we were gonna,
And again, I agree with you guys, like that was platted when the development was done, that was gonna be a trail, so I agree with that. Like I'm not so much concerned about the homeowners as I am about the ongoing expense of having to rebuild this thing as it washes and floods out.
Yeah. Agreed.
I think looking at options is pretty good. If we can discuss with Providence Ridge, Willow Creek, I think the drainage could probably be done a lot better. Like this would flood a lot less if we could hug the property line back here looking at these contours. If we could hug, it would just not be in the bottom. If we could hug the property line here and then go through this neighborhood and kind of hit two birds with one stone with the privacy and the drainage issues. And then maybe
I just don't see that neighborhood being like, yeah, sure, you can run some trails in our common area.
yeah. Well, we could always ask, and then if they say no, they say no. It looks like there's some sort of gap here that could, actually.
Well, that's why I said I think they have trails through those woods already. So they might be interested in connecting them.
That's weird.
Yeah.
It looks like a gap for where you would put an easement or a sewer or like a sidewalk or something, but it's not there.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a winter picture, so we should be able to see some trails in the woods if there were some, but I don't really see any. I need to go out there sometime.
Yeah, I thought I recalled it, but maybe I'm wrong.
Anyway, so.
But I think you have some direction and we understand better the challenges of that particular lot. Rohit, maybe you do look into, if we're now not requiring them to do all that work, is fee in lieu something that you can kind of
Yeah,
go back
I'd love
to?
to look at that.
Or,
As an option. That's what I thought we'd be able to do it, but after thinking about it, I realized I just said something at the council meeting that
yeah,
is probably not accurate. My bad. Because, like you said, the fee in lieu needed to be determined at the time of the development agreement. But potentially, we could do some sort of, less than fee in lieu, like a quasi fee in lieu, where, instead of just giving us the money straight, we could ask them to do something else in the neighborhood,
yeah,
and they might be amenable to that. Whereas a fee in lieu could be spent anywhere in the village.
well, actually, fee in lieu still has to be relatively.
Like in the area,
Yeah.
in nearby, but not necessarily in that property.
Yeah.
So I think I do have some direction here.
Care to summarize?
Yeah, we're gonna see if we can realign this trail kind of into Providence Ridge and Willow Creek's common area, and maybe even propose a connection here. See if we can do a post-development fee or lieu, or if not, like what the money saved on this greenway could be spent towards in the neighborhood. Improving the sidewalk is kind of like my first pass. We also have like a little pocket park here that could, put the money towards that instead. I don't know if you guys knew this, but we own a 0.2 acre pocket park. I think it's like 1,200 square feet.
Wow.
I did not know we owned that.
So let me just say this here. I'm just looking at Willow Creek's HOA page. The washout area on our trail off Grigg Lane has a new drainage pipe, as well as a washout area in the lower trail behind Astrid Court. We plan to top dress the trail system with new gravel in 2021. So they do have.
They do have, I didn't doubt you,
trails there through there.
I'm just saying we couldn't see it on Google
It's
aerial.
odd they can't see it.
But I'd love to draw it out on a map and see,
Yeah,
see where it could,
and maybe just opening the communication with them to gauge their interest.
So you're gonna look into a fee and lieu for the Belgrade Greenway?
and figure out where their trails are in Willow Creek and Providence Ridge. So there's one off of Grigg Lane and one off of Astrid Court, huh?
Yeah,
All right, that gives me some.
and that's
clues.
just Willow Creek. That's not
Yeah.
Providence Ridge.
Yeah, Willow Creek then would be this up
Yeah,
here.
they're the northern one.
Yeah.
But it's set off Grigg Lane, so I think somewhere right there off of Grigg Lane, I think that might be it right there. Yeah, and then you see it turns up, there it is.
There it is.
Yeah,
There you go.
There it is. There might be a little.
so, if it,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
it-
there is.
yeah, there it is too, there's another spur, so, they might be interested if then, it can connect over.
Yeah. They could connect. Oh. That's the other side of the power line. They would have to. I think that's doable though. I have to cross over.
Yeah, oh, and then you may be running into Providence Ridge, but yeah,
I think that's doable.
yeah. See, even in the winter, those trails are tough to see.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, you need to really get close to see that.
Yeah, so we have to cross over into this area.
Maybe we should paint them.
What's the deal with that one parcel there?
This is all Wingard subdivision.
Yeah,
We'd have to, I mean, we were gonna have to do this coordination anyway, so we might as well. Or we might do this instead.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool.
well, and that's why I was a little bit worried when we were saying where we tell them we'll relinquish, you know?
Mhm.
Because, you know, we still may
Still pretty
need
close
some
to
of
Dallas.
that to get the connection over, because
Right.
it looks like that part of it is Providence Ridge. Maybe they have no trails,
Yeah,
you know? Now, maybe Willow Creek just wants to keep their trails, you know, because
Yeah.
they pay for them currently, but
right.
maybe they wanna expand it, who knows?
Yeah, their trails aren't on our network map.
Correct.
Rohit's getting homework.
Yeah, this is, I mean, this is pretty good, this is gonna be a pretty good exercise.
Yeah.
For me to think about both logistically and geometrically, which would be you know, a good alignment for, that would solve everyone's problems. I'm obviously not gonna commit to anything right now. but
Yeah.
I think there's
Understood.
a lot of possibilities here.
Yep.
Okay, I think I have good action items here.
All right. Any further discussion of Belgrove Greenway?
I don't have anything.
All right. The next item under new business items is discussion of dates for fall community cleanup event. So,
Somebody pick a date.
yeah, I guess it's really just picking a date. And you talked about the trees for trash and stuff. Do they have certain dates they do those
They
things
had a
around?
spring one, but I don't think they have a fall one.
Okay, because I know generally people do it in the spring around Earth Day and that.
Right, and they had,
Given
theirs
the-
was not on Earth Day, but it was
No.
around then.
Yeah,
I
But-
think they could,
You can do it anytime.
anytime.
Yeah.
well, I mean, if you're gonna do it twice a year, that's April, you know, is typically Earth Day, April 20th. Does it make sense to do it in October? Everything's starting to die off, trash that's hidden behind
Right.
weeds that were growing might start to show, so
It's a lot
maybe,
safer.
maybe we say, you know, you wanna do it before the time change, maybe?
Saturday, October 16th
Yeah,
or
middle
9th
of
or
October.
something.
Well, and actually, because we may not have had a frost by then, you might want to do it later than that even, later than October. Just to your point, to be able to see better. I
Yeah,
don't know, I don't remember when.
When the leaves come down late November.
Yeah,
When the leaves come
it
down.
seems to get later.
yeah. I'd say let's just shoot for the middle of October. You know, I think then you're kind of 6 months apart from the other one, and, you know, what we really need is just a target date to kind of put out there and plan to. So October 16th sound good for now, unless we find
Yeah.
between now and.
I mean, I'm
And then
personally not
somebody-
available, but that, you know,
Sure. October 16th.
how I know something that far in advance, but I do.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is discussion of 2021 National Night Out. And Derek's not here, but again, I had a chance to discuss this a little bit with him. So National Night Out, it's kind of morphed into something a little bit different over the last couple of years, where it used to always be on the National Night Out Day in August. It's usually a Tuesday night or something like that. And the last couple of years, they have seemed to have had an alternate date in October for people that don't want to do it in August. So the first decision that I'd say we'd have to do is do it in August or do it in October. I think with the amount of extracurriculars, everything that people are involved in, I mean, in October when school's back in session and stuff like that, and we don't have a lot of things over the summer, you know, events wise, and people may be vacationing or not, but
Yeah, but they're not all.
but for the
alone.
folks that are around,
Yeah.
the discussion was, would we want to combine it like we have in the past with maybe a movie night where, you know, from 5 till 8, you know, we have the law enforcement officers, all of those folks and things available. And then the other question is, in the past, and keep in mind, we didn't have it last year because of COVID, right? So now we're moving into our post-COVID world. One of the big draws to it in the past was Officer Ed used to literally get all of the food donated from Harris Teeter, Lowe's, you know, all these neighborhood things. I don't know if the new officers have kind of kept those connections and whether that's still a reality of how easily it happens. If we're not, and really almost that whole day was planned by Ed and the officers. There was really nothing we needed to do more than provide the site, you know, and then we usually did the movie night afterward because the kids would come, they'd meet the officers. As soon as it gets dark, you know, then they start the movie. I guess the question is, and this might be more for our new officers, Tommy and Mason, is are they prepared to do something like Ed did, or are they starting from scratch, don't have contacts with these places? I don't know. So the first thing that I'd say in preparation for it is maybe our next meeting, we invite one or both of the officers that...
You'll probably get one, not both.
Oh, yeah. But I think he thought that Tommy is kind of more the senior and might have a better understanding of what has been done in the past and in other years, you know. So I guess the question would be, you know, to them, is it as turnkey as it used to be, given that there's been a year away from it? And if so, do we just do it like we did before? Because I'm not necessarily worried about the food providing. I mean, we're already kind of stepping out of the pandemic, I think, enough to not worry about that component of it.
But I mean, even leave it more, just ask them what they're able to provide. What were their thoughts on what they were gonna do?
Like, does he have Ed's list
Yeah,
of
yeah.
all the contacts and the places
yeah.
that he got things from and all of that?
So do you guys want one of them here at the next PRG meeting?
Yeah,
I'll check with them. I don't know if they have their schedule yet to see who's on patrol.
I
But
don't think we can wait till our July meeting. Then it's a month out.
away.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, I think somebody's gotta call Tommy and Mason like this week
And say,
Yeah.
what's going
and
on?
just have a conversation with them and see like where their head's at, if they've done it before. But there's no way we can wait till the July meeting.
And what were their expectations of this? And what was their role, what did their perceived role in this?
And I don't know if it was just our kind of national night out, but it seemed like ours attracted a lot of the officers from all over would come to ours, you know? So I don't know if that's what happens at all of them. I don't know if that's what happens just because Ed was so good at getting the sponsors and the free food and all of that, you know, but I think it's a very positive thing, even for officers that don't normally patrol around here to come out and, you know, have the folks showing their appreciation, you know, because.
Oh, I agree, and I also think that having Publix in Marvin will be very helpful in terms of getting donations.
Correct.
So,
And the
but
national,
yeah,
the national day is August the 3rd. I mean,
Ooh.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's creeping.
We didn't even get August.
What day of the week is that?
Tuesday.
Tuesday,
After
August. the
2021. I mean, that's what
So.
interwebs say.
I would say at this point, even reserving movies and you know, other things, we probably want to start planning that now.
This snuck up on us fast.
Yeah.
Wow. Let's see if there's.
And I agree wholeheartedly. When I was talking about bringing him into the meeting, I was talking about doing some further coordination with them, but yeah, we need an answer, you know, sooner rather than later as to whether they even feel equipped and ready to at least do the part that Ed always did.
I don't want to be
Like Firethorn, we used to always see if we could borrow their grill, you know, stuff like that even.
Is it a foregone conclusion that we're going to have National Night Out?
Not necessarily.
The reason for the question, you know, we're approaching this as it sounds like a foregone conclusion. What is our participation rate by the general public at National Night Out?
It was usually pretty good.
good.
It was very good.
What's good?
I would say a couple of hundred, and then by the time you got down to the movie, there might be 40 to 60 people there with their kids watching the movie.
Yeah.
The one I went to,
But I would say probably 100 to 200 people generally.
Yeah, the reason I asked the question, I went to the last one
Yeah,
2 years ago. And by the time we had the movie,
yeah.
there were 8 people, 10 people there, maybe. And it was a pretty night. And one of the reasons...
Was that the one that rained, or was that?
No,
the
and
year
I
before?
remember the conversation post-National Night Out. We
Yeah.
kind of did a download of, you know, what happened, what went well, what didn't
Yeah.
go well. And I remember one of the subjects that we talked about was, well, by the time we get a film, a lot of people have already seen the film and they didn't come out.
Sometimes it's
Yeah.
the-
that doesn't matter if it's a good one.
Well,
Reruns.
it's about giving the kids something.
Yeah, if it's Caddyshack, I'll be there. But no, you know, that's my question, because we're gonna invest time, police officers' time, you know, is it worth doing? If we're having 200 people show up, it's absolutely worth doing.
Yeah.
That's the reason for my question.
We've done it for many years. Now, keep in mind, it didn't used to be that. So we made a conscious decision probably 7 or 8 years ago. What we used to do is we used to, you know, talk to all of the HOAs and neighborhood associations. And I know mine, which is a very decentralized HOA, they would get all the free food and stuff like that, and they would drop it off, and people would have their grills out in the cul-de-sacs of their neighborhoods.
Oh, so you do it.
And
in
the officers would drive, and they would stop, and
So it's decentralized.
but it was actually the officers
That's a great
and Union County sheriffs that came to us and said we'd prefer to do this as more of a centralized thing.
Yeah, I can understand why.
Mhm, yeah.
And that's what we did, and it did work pretty well for a number of years. We did have rain, and even that one we did pretty well on, but we combined it with movie nights and stuff like that.
I just want to make sure it's worth our time. That's all.
Yeah.
I think not having it last year
Yes.
and having like stuff to do,
I agree.
like this year people are gonna be like, I'm gonna go and do stuff. I haven't seen people in a year and a half.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get out to the park, they're gonna have a thing. I can go see some neighbors that I haven't seen. I mean, I think it will be well attended.
Okay.
And especially if we can get the HOA president's attention somehow by miracles.
Bob.
I'm looking at him. No,
No, we're already working on
I know
that.
you are,
Yeah.
and I think that could really make a big difference. But that's exactly what I was going to say. What Kim
Well,
did.
we're
that
gonna-
people are dying to go do something. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we might have a big crowd this year. Then we might have to rethink it next year.
So,
I've never been involved in a national night for, so I really don't know how this works or what to expect.
It's a big cookout.
I will probably see Mason or Tommy at some point this week. John, do you want me to let them get in touch with you, kind of coordinate that
yeah,
way?
if they want to get in touch with me, because that's
their phone numbers too, just so you can
Okay.
have them.
great.
Tommy's on the front and Mason's on the back.
Yeah, and even I work out of my house most of the time, so while one of them's on patrol, they could just stop by my house.
Okay.
And talk to
Scare
them.
the neighbors.
I was gonna say, create a rumor.
I love it.
My ex has been gone a long time.
That poll edition's gone awry.
So let's see here. So I'll reach out to them and directly.
And next time I see
get a
him, I'll
feel
talk to him
for
too.
it and just understand what they're equipped with what Ed did. Is Ed still with the department somewhere else in?
I've never met Ed, so I don't know who you're talking about.
Oh.
Before my time
Yeah.
in Marvin.
I think so. I feel like I've seen him a couple of times.
I think so too. I thought he was getting reassigned to another part of the county where closer to where he lives.
Yeah,
or something.
and Austin, I would add this to your communications list.
What?
National Night Out.
What about it?
We're gonna have it. That people need to know about it. Put it on their calendars.
Yeah, like now.
I'll talk to him and then get back with you, Austin, just on how that conversation goes.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Moving on to the next agenda item is number 5,
Park update.
which is a park update and a couple of items that.
Yeah. So I had a neighbor, one of my neighbors dropped off some glitter at my house. I thought glitter was really tiny stuff. This was like Mylar pieces this big that she picked up in the park. And she says every time they're out there, which is a lot, they notice there's glitter everywhere. And what happens, best I can tell, because then I talked to Derek about it a little bit, the photographers, when they take all these people, they throw that and then they take the picture. And I'm like, have you heard of Photoshop? But whatever. But her complaint was, yes, litter, but it's litter that will be there until the end of time because it's
not
Mylar.
biodegradable.
It's not biodegradable at all. And she said, at least put some signs out there, don't be a glitter bug. I thought that was pretty cute. I'm sure she felt that somewhere. But I'm sure we're not the only park with this problem. That's why I think she saw that somewhere. So I did mention it to Derek, and he's like, you can't control that. I think we can put a sign up and say, don't do it. You know, because it's harmful to wildlife. Back to
You said Mylar litter?
well, it's Mylar glitter. Yeah, I think all glitter probably is, right? It's just tiny, right? And maybe there's some kind of biodegradable. I don't know. I didn't go research glitter, but
If we think it's specifically related to the photographers,
that's what
and
Derek
we're
thought.
providing photographers
That's
passes,
exactly
right?
Know who was there.
exactly.
But we won't know who's there at any given
On a
time.
day,
but-
yeah.
But
we can send out
But we
something
could
to
just
you.
send out something to those folks that have these photographers passes. You know, please be cognizant that, you know, any trash that, you know, you
Yeah,
bring
there's
into
the
into the
expectation.
park, there's an expectation that it gets cleaned up and removed. And, you know, we say this because we've had a problem with litter, you
Glitter.
know.
I would be very specific.
Glitter
about
litter.
the Glitter litter, yeah. Glitter
So
litter.
I think that's an appropriate thing to do because,
Absolutely.
you know, and then if it continues, we send out another letter saying, hey, we're going to start to rethink, you know, professional photographers passes if, you know, if we continue to have an issue.
Yeah, that would be,
You know.
that is the easy, well, the most
That's
straightforward.
a good way.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not, like, I would go in a lot harsher than oh, please pick up your trash. Like, no, I mean, you're gonna lose your pass and we're not gonna refund your money and you will be banned from taking pictures in the park. Like, it's not, like, that's not okay. And for Derek just to be like, well, you know, we can't really do much about it. Yeah, we can.
I agree.
100% we
Yeah.
can.
So for direction, do you guys want me to let Derek know to amend the park rules essentially to ban glitter, to have these kinds of warnings on park documents, so that people are aware and it's provided for them when they first get the pass?
I think that I think that we need to have a discussion with council and Derek on Tuesday night, and this needs to be an agenda item. And we need to, because that's not okay.
But it's
Yeah, they
easy
should
not
be
to do
required
it.
to pick up anything they bring.
Or just
in.
don't do it. 'Cause
Leave it as you found
It's
it.
just astounding they don't clean it up.
She says every time they walk, especially around the lake, because I'm sure lots of pictures are taken down
Yeah,
there. Yeah.
yeah.
And I haven't seen any in the cottage garden, oddly, and there are a lot of pictures that are taken in there too. So I don't know if it's more she said she thinks it's more the high school type pictures that are taken. So it may not just be professional photographers
could be.
either. So we might have to go after the whole.
Yeah.
Community.
Yeah. But the glitter is bad. And most of the public, like UNCC's Botanical Gardens, they've got little signs that say, "Oh no, do not do this."
Yeah.
Of any type of litter like that. Glitter
Good
litter.
idea.
That was one thing.
That was one thing. The second thing is volunteers at the park for mulch and weeding and all the gardens. So we've got, with Mary moving away and, just making gardens and then walking away, there's just a lot of maintenance that needs to go on with the gardens, and just to make them look really nice. And every time I'm in the cottage garden, people walk through every single time and compliment that garden. So I know we don't want to, we want to keep
Turn it
maintaining
over.
it. Yeah, no, oh gosh.
Do you guys want to do another volunteer work day again?
So, my question is, what I've got going now, Paige Davis with Marsh had a great idea and sent out a letter to the Marvin High School. Is it Marvin Ridge High School?
Yeah.
Yeah, get that name right. And before her fingers were off of the keys, I was getting requests to be a volunteer, the high schoolers being a volunteer. So we've had one work day. I'm having another one this afternoon and another one tomorrow morning. And I'm getting several people that are involved in that. I don't need a ton. That's fantastic.
Okay, good.
But, things, come and go. One of the things I wanted to add, so I wanted to just update you guys that we've got volunteers, and so far, I've got 3 days, and I'll just keep doing it depending on the weather, and what our need is. But the other thing that happened back in February, and I think you were part of that one. I know you were part of the John work day, because you and your daughter were the only ones there. One of the groups that rents the barn is a church group, and I can't remember their name, Redeemer Church or something.
Yeah.
20 people showed up in lieu of paying for the barn. They showed up to do work, and for 2 hours, it was a ton of people worked one February and did a bunch of work to the community garden and a bunch of work in the berms near the mostly moving mulch, the berms near the cottage garden. That was awesome. In 2 hours, they did an amazing amount of work. I don't know if it's just because they were focused and they were just a good group or whatever, but that's the kind of thing I wonder
I
if
think
we
they also just showed up and didn't know what they were
getting into. Maybe. But they all did just a really,
did.
really good job, really fast too. So I'm wondering if, and this is maybe a couple of times a year, because we don't need that kind of attention often, but that we could either have a work day and cross our fingers and, John and his daughter show up. So that doesn't work so good. But if we could trade barn time for work time, personally, I'm all in for that. I wouldn't want to do it for, everybody, but occasionally. That was a long way of asking for that.
I think we've, I think Derek spoke about, because he was really impressed with what we were able to do
Well, he
then
kind of,
too,
I think
you know,
he
for
kind of
a,
came up with it.
for a $200 barn rental. fee,
Exactly.
So I think he was gonna look for opportunities, but yeah, definitely directing him to maybe even, approach some of the folks that regularly do it.
Well, there are people who do their workout. They start at the barn and then they're running around the park. And these are adults running around the park, and I'm like, I can't give you a workout with a pitchfork in your hand. And, so I mean, it'd be useful instead of just carrying that kettlebell around.
Yeah.
And we got real work we could do. So I think he might need us to say, hey, that's okay,
Yeah.
and maybe we come up with, each person that you bring is worth this much, maybe a dollar amount in there somewhere, maybe a range or something, because you bring 20 people for 2 hours, that's a lot of labor.
Yeah.
Then, well, you and your
And
daughter
because
did a
it's
lot of
only
work.
2
but you're only
hours,
two
like
people.
everybody worked hard the whole
Exactly.
time.
The
too.
2-hour time frame is perfect.
Yeah.
I'm learning. Yeah. So I just think that would be very useful, at least twice a year, to do something like that instead of trying to get the whole community to show up and they don't.
If you paid the 20 people $15 an hour, that's $600 worth of labor. So
I know. And pay them 10 because it's landscaping work, so it's not going to be 15. But still, that's what I'm getting at. And so trade that off with a barn rental, then we got a really good deal for that barn rental.
Yeah.
Right?
That is the type of stuff that we did have a lot of good luck to in the past with the Boy Scout groups.
Okay.
When the boys, and typically one or both of their parents, would show up with them. And they knew it was a community service
Yeah,
project,
yeah.
so it might be hauling mulch or weeding
Yeah.
or things like that.
And I have good luck with that in
And they might be looking for
Work
places
hard.
to gather at times too, so.
Exactly. So just
an offer like that to a Boy Scout group, yeah, we're not just gonna give you volunteer hours too, but, we'll also give you the use of the barn or something for, 4 hours on a Saturday
Yeah.
evening or something to do an event with,
So I'm just throwing that out there as a thing that we are more consistent with, instead of just hoping and praying that it happens. So I could use an early, well, that's not spring, a late winter version, that worked out really, really well, and then maybe, a fall version. Not dead of summer, maybe that.
So you do another one of these in like the fall, sometime like September or something, October.
Yeah. Kind of depending on what we need, but yeah, because there's a lot of cleanup work. Maybe even November. That late, early November.
Do a wheelbarrow exercise class.
Well, hey, I'm telling
Well, a
you.
lot of stuff's about dying. right?
Exactly, then
That
you're
has to
cleaning
get
up
cleaned
and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. So we could do garden cleanup and then garden refresh
In the
in late
spring.
February, early
Yeah.
March. Yep,
Okay.
that was it.
All right, next item is the review of action items and ongoing action item list.
All right.
Yeah, this
So-
is gonna be long.
So I will place discussion and consideration of roundabout plants on the July 13th PRG agenda. I will send out communications announcing that the roundabout plants are in the process of being replaced, or will be replaced in the fall. I will create a volunteer opportunities page on the website and will get information on website traffic. I will add National Night Out to the communications. Me and John will work on communications to announce Marvin Day and to recruit volunteer sponsors and businesses. John will coordinate with Tommy and Mason on National Night Out. Christina will work on a logo for Marvin Day. Rohit will research realigning the Belgrove Greenway, researching a fee in lieu of the Greenway, and will research the location of trails in Willow Creek and Providence Ridge.
That's already a check.
Oh, we're good on that one, that last one?
Yeah, we figured it out in the course of this meeting.
Okay, so
And Bob and
that one
Christina specifically are gonna work on the plan for the roundabouts.
And
the
have
plan
that
plan.
ready for the July
The
13th.
13th.
Okay, let me put that on here.
Okay. Next is board comments.
No comment.
Having a blast.
All right, Christina?
What about the ongoing action item list?
Oh, ongoing.
Oh,
Oh, that, yeah.
My favorite thing.
It is a good list because I forget to do things, and I know my name's on there on one of them.
okay. Kim and John, contact Marvin Elementary art teachers.
It got too late for me on that. That'll be a new school year item.
Okay, Derek's not here. Rohit, you got, let's see, look into connector from Amber Meadows Trail to commercial corridor.
That is gonna be a part of that cell tower rezoning, so I'd say that one's probably, maybe leave it on there because, just to make sure it happens, but that's,
It's gonna take a
that's a
while.
check, pretty much.
That's a check off.
I mean, that's a check because we got it somehow.
So we can take it off the list, or?
I mean, I suppose you could take it off the list. That's, for right now, I could say that that's, I mean, it's a rezoning, so rezoning has to happen, but we got that as a condition of the rezoning, so, in the county.
Sounds good.
Okay. Look into trail parking at swim club and storage facility or other alternatives.
No, that I haven't gotten around to yet. Keep that on the list, sorry.
Look into using Amber Meadows sidewalk on trail map.
That too. Just keep that on the
Okay. Christina, Derek's not here. Have you guys walked through the pocket park yet?
No, because he seems to be on vacation. No. Since the last time we talked about
Oh
it,
yeah,
he's
it's
been
been
on
a
vacation.
while.
Yeah, we'll try to do that before the next meeting. It's good and hot.
Okay, I don't know how Dan is working with council and Christina on the ditch for the Greenway flooding. I don't think anybody knows anything about that.
I mean, last I heard, Andy,
Fixing the pitch of the
Yeah,
ditch.
the last I heard, Andy and Dan were going to meet
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've met, they've identified what they want to do, and Andy's already also kind of secured some dirt from Village Hall site to help build that berm, so that's still probably in progress, but there's some progress since the
Okay.
last time.
You guys have prepared ideas for Eagle Scout projects, and I'll include those on the website.
Yes.
Send me any more if you guys think there's more you want me to put on there. Let's see, I have talked to Christina about the budget for Marvin Day. If you guys need money, we'll do a budget amendment later because the budget's already published. So they've adopted it already now.
Apparently, we need $10,000 for the blue dog. Kidding.
Good luck with that.
I'm kidding.
Let's see, draft of communication target sponsors local businesses. We're working on that. Rohit, compile a list of home occupancy permits.
Haven't done that yet. That was an action item given like last week.
Last
right?
week, yeah.
So, but
And
I'll do that.
I haven't heard from Derek about the parks, the new park signs. So, and the projects about the pocket park are on hold for Girl Scouts and Eagle Scouts. So that's the list.
Okay. Do I hear a motion on the table to adjourn the Village of Marvin?
Did you guys
Park?
finish comments?
They did.
Yeah, there was only.
They were vast and many.
Yeah.
So none. Okay.
Exactly.
So do I hear a motion on the table to adjourn the Village of Marvin Parks Recreation Greenway Board meeting here June 1st at 11:11 a.m.?
So moved.
All in favor say aye.
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 No,
It's all right.